Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. George Pickens ready to explode after DK Metcalf trade, in a good way, MJD says. When people talk about Steelers Wr George Pickens being ready to explode, they usually mean it negatively lately. A player whom his own head coach says needs to grow up, he is prone to tantrums that can cause distractions. Some have worried that the Steelers trading for DK Metcalf will spark the biggest tantrum of all, but NFL analyst and former RB Maurice Jones-Drew disagrees. Or at least he thinks he can explode on the field as well, in a good way. The Pittsburgh Steelers understand what they want to do, Jones-Drew said on the NFL Network yesterday. When George Pickens was getting a ton of double coverage, there wasn't another guy to go to with the football. Now you have DK Metcalf there, but I expect Pickens to explode. He's been waiting to explode. That's why I've been leaning more toward the Aaron Rodgers side. Pickens can catch that 50-50 ball. He can go up and make some catches across the middle. The Steelers made George Pickens their clear number one WR last year after trading Diontae Johnson, but they counted on being able to replace what they lost. They thought they had something worked out for Brandon Ayuk, but he pivoted at the last moment. Reportedly, the Steelers did try to trade for DK Metcalf last year, marking a familiar theme. In 2023, they tried to trade for CB Dante Jackson, only to acquire him last March, for Johnson. Jones-Drew's opinion certainly has validity, and is a point that was raised throughout the offseason a year ago. Many worried that without another legitimate starting wide receiver, George Pickens would struggle to produce for the Steelers. Now, he did only score 3 touchdowns, which is really not acceptable. But he found ways to make plays when the quarterbacks tossed him the ball. Of course, right now, they don't know who their quarterback will be, at least as of this writing. Justin Fields has already agreed to terms with the Jets, rebuffing an offer Pittsburgh had on the table. The Steelers' remaining top options are Aaron Rodgers or rerunning Russell Wilson, both of whom offer a higher upside for passing game numbers for George Pickens and DK Metcalf. It's worth noting that Metcalf played his entire career with a strong running mate in Seattle with Tyler Lockett. The Seahawks released Lockett, though, so maybe he winds up back with Metcalf in Pittsburgh. As for Pickens, he had Diontae Johnson for his first 2 seasons, and some guys. Van Jefferson played the second most snaps, but Calvin Austin III was the second most productive wide receiver. It is true that Steelers' opponents won't be able to commit as much attention to Pickens with Metcalf on the other side. Metcalf is not unfamiliar with double teams himself, so defenses will have to make a choice. Will that result in Pickens finally exploding in terms of production, something Steelers fans have long been waiting for? We have talked about his potential for years, but 12 career receiving touchdowns doesn't pass muster. Justin Fields was never an option for Browns after deal with New York Jets revealed. Justin Fields was an intriguing player for the Cleveland Browns to try and sign in free agency. Given how weak the current free agency class for quarterbacks is, Fields stood out after getting benched with a 4-2 record as a starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson, who beat out Fields for the starting job once he got back from injury, led the Browns' rival to an AFC wild card game against the Baltimore Ravens, where Pittsburgh fell to Lamar Jackson and their other AFC North foil. It made fans question whether, after seeing how much Wilson struggled down the stretch of the season, the team should have ever benched Fields to begin with. He's much younger than Wilson, and clearly had something brewing as a starting quarterback for the team. Instead, Pittsburgh opted for experience over Fields' flashes of potential. And it led to his departure from the team in free agency. While he didn't leave to sign with the Browns, it's clear that Cleveland never had a shot, anyway. Fields landed a lucrative deal with the New York Jets considering he's barely played as a starter in the NFL since his down days with the Chicago Bears. He's set to earn a 2-year deal worth $40 million, with his first year being likely considered a prove-it year for the Jets and Fields. If it works out, then he'll be their QB1 moving forward. If it doesn't, they have the flexibility to get out of the deal. The contract number is what sticks out. $40 million is far too rich for the Browns' blood right now, unless they cut some key players from their roster. They would have never been able to compete with the Jets for field services if that's the number he was seeking out. New York, like Cleveland, was desperate for a starting quarterback. But the Jets don't pick number 2 overall in the draft like the Browns do. So, they had more motivation to get a deal done now and build around Fields through the draft instead. With this move, the market continues to dwindle for Cleveland. They similarly never had a shot at Sam Darnold in free agency, and they're likely to just wait to see what backup options are available until they can figure out who they can realistically trade for this offseason. The Steelers' options at quarterback appear to be down to Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, along with Daniel Jones. Justin Fields intends to sign with the Jets, and Sam Darnold is also already off the theoretical board. We don't know what the Steelers offered Fields, but reportedly they did not make any year 2 guarantees. The Jets did, giving him $30 million guaranteed on a 2-year, $40 million deal. Pittsburgh doesn't offer guarantees beyond the second year except for truly exceptional players, which used to mean franchise quarterbacks. They broke the mold by giving them to T.J. Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick, but the point remains. With the Steelers' choices narrowing, though, does Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers make more sense? Steelers moving forward with Aaron Rodgers. Future Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers is looking for a new team after the New York Jets decided to part ways with him this offseason. But it sounds like the Pittsburgh Steelers could soon make him their next quarterback. According to a report from NFL insider Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, the Pittsburgh Steelers are moving forward with contract talks with Aaron Rodgers and there could be an agreement in place in the near future. Per a source with knowledge of the situation, the Steelers and Rodgers could have an agreement in place as soon as Tuesday. He won't be able to sign until Wednesday, when the Jets release him, Florio wrote for Pro Football Talk. While Florio acknowledges that Rodgers could still end up with the New York Giants instead, he explained why Pittsburgh might be a more enticing option for him. One big factor comes from Rodgers' desire to play 2 more years. If he picks the Giants, and if the Giants fail to make it to the playoffs in 2025, co-owner John Mara could clean house in 2026. A new GM and a new head coach could result in the same decision the other New York team made this year, a decision to move on from Rodgers, Florio wrote. And you, fan? What do you think about Aaron Rodgers' situation? Write to us in the comments.